Greetings, aliens. It is me, your one and only host, Miss Ella Sanchez of the Nadie Preguntó podcast, because truly nobody asked for this podcast whatsoever. I'm having a blast and I hope you are too. My fellow aliens, my fellow friends, I'm actually recording in the daytime. Quite shocking to me as well. Wow. Honestly, I feel like the intros are just getting shorter and shorter because I don't feel like I need a lot to say, quite honestly. Let's see. What can I think of? Well, I can always do the usual. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I say the occasional nothing, but the occasional something every now and then. But if you are returning, hi, hello. I hope everything has been going well for you. I hope that whatever you have been manifesting into your life, whatever you've been asking for, whatever you've been working towards, I hope it is on its way to you very soon. However, though, guys, I guess a little update on me. I'm going to Lore tomorrow. Oh, I love that woman so much. Let's see. Honestly, we're having a bit of a dilemma today. I don't know. I mean, I know what topic we're going to be doing today, as you probably read the title. I don't even know what the title is yet. But my thing is long story short, you guys, I have this thing where I feel like I have topics. Like when I go MIA for God knows how many months, almost a year, I have so many topics I want to talk about, right? And I kind of save a lot of them in my mind, or I make notes before I even bring back the podcast. So I'm like, have like a bunch of stuff I can talk about. However, I have this thing where like when I come back to the podcast full time and I'm like really doing it every single week, not missing a day, and I do that for like a month or two, and then I run out of ideas. So will this episode make sense? I hope it does. I pray that it does. But as you all know, I have my handy dandy iPad here. That is what I'll be looking at, or, looking down, up, sideways, whatever the fuck. But nonetheless, y'all, this intro is already long enough. We're going to get into today's episode. I will see you guys in the next side and the next segment. And we're back, ladies and gents. Hello. Hi. So we are back with this episode. As you probably read the title, it is titled for a reason. Okay, for a reason. Before you crucify me, before I hear your think pieces that I'm not going to read or care about, this is my podcast. If you ever critique somebody, you should just start your own so you can have your own opinions and your own place to say your dilly dally things. But today's episode is titled for a reason. When is it time to give up? Now, pause. Okay. I always start off with the inspiration for every episode that I do. It was either going to be this topic, or it was going to be finding your own look, like your aesthetic, your look in general, whatever that means, right? I might do that next week. I'm not sure, just depending if I come up with something else. If I don't, if that might be it. But today's episode is titled When Is It Time to Give Up? And the inspiration for this episode is essentially I've been talking to my sister a lot about my crash outs, as we all know. If you follow me on IG and on the close friends, I crashed out last night. So yeah, it's been a time. October has been a weird time for me. Weird in the sense of like not bad but not good. It's just been stressful because I make it stressful for myself. What else is new? But anyways, I was talking to my sister as to the cliche conversation, as you all well and know, that things haven't been working out for me, and to ask the question, when do you think it's time to give up on something or someone? It can be, even we can apply this to individuals, but more so this episode is going to be leaning towards like aspirations and goals and whatever. But I have a solid argument for this, and something just got in my eyes, so bear with me, guys. I don't know why that decided to happen right now as I'm doing the literal internet introduction and inspiration for this, but the question still remains, and we have to unpack it because there's a lot of answers. When do you think it is the time to give up? And the answer can mean a lot of things. Like when you ask yourself that question, it can mean a lot of different things. It doesn't have to necessarily be what I mean it and intend it to be. Because for me, I apply this to like career, I apply this to dreams, I apply this to aspirations, and maybe you apply this to education. Maybe you apply this to an individual you think about every now and then or all the time. But this answer and question can mean various things for various people. There's no right or wrong. And honestly, we might leave today's episode with no solid answer. Like I don't think this question is intended to be answered unless you're ready to answer it. So ideally, the whole ideology of life is to never give up, obviously, which in turn, I agree with to some extent. But after a certain amount of times, when is it time to give up on whatever it has to be? And usually, like I said, there may not be a right or wrong answer. There may not even be an answer to begin with. But my example that I use that I really want to use and core this episode for is a friend of mine was telling me how one of his friends that's in New York has been trying to audition for like a musical, like an annual musical. It's like only around the holiday time. Like, I'm not going to say the name of it, but you can always Google it. Google is free, guys. But their entire career, like my friend was telling me this, how like they have built their entire career. They're dancers, by the way. So they've been practicing and dancing and making their entire life's work to be part of this musical one day. So hearing this and hearing how much work this person has put into, having this happen, and eventually fast forward to like the first auditions to like the 10th auditions, right? And they've been passed over billions of times. Every audition they got passed over, passed over, passed over. And I say this because my lovely friend in New York that was telling me this, like that experience that this person, that their friend of theirs experienced about going through the audition process, dancing, rehearsing, etc., and going to these auditions and not having anything come from it for many years, many rounds, and then one day they tell me, or like my friend tells me, like, oh, like they finally got the spot, they finally got it after however many years life of work. And I'm like, that's when it also has to ask the question, like, I think that it also depends on industry. I think that it varies in industry. For my fellow dancers out there, for those who are not in the dance world, who are not involved in that type of art world, I'm here to tell you right now, dance is something that I love and cherish and will always have a special place in my heart for, that I always will um, go back to, will always make my life form of it. Do I ever post about it online? No, because this is like a hobby for me. I am not a big fan of posting it on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. I mean, listen, that's how you get booked, and I'm not here to judge. I don't judge anybody in that field. Like, if you want to get booked, that's like honestly the only way to do it. But my thing is that I'm a firm believer of having some hobbies for yourself that you just do for the love of it, love of the game, love of the passion. But my thing is that if with this example that I'm using, that I really want to base this episode on, that I got inspired to, this episode on, is when is it time to give up? Because I have met several dancers, by the way, my friends included, that I have known for it feels like lifetimes, that have been continuously passed up for like whatever the reasons are. Like, there'll never be a clear answer as to why you got passed over for something unless you ask. It's always like the whole conversation of like closed mouths don't get fed. And if you don't ask, you'll never know. But my thing is like, when is it time to give up? When is it time to, or maybe we can rephrase it as, try another thing or move away from something for a while, leave it alone for a little while, and then come back to it when you feel like you're ready to face it. Because I feel like this is something that nobody ever talks about, the whole conversation of like, when is it time to give up on something or someone? But like I said, today's episode is going to be primarily based on like the some things like aspirations and career. Like, when is it time to give up on something? And there, like I said, there's no clear answer. There never will be. I feel like you'll know when that type of thing. But I think we need to stop frowning on people that give up on something and they redirect their energy into something new or something different. Whether it's you go from full time dancer, full time in the arts, to maybe switching it up one day in your life. You keep getting all the no's and you're tired of, not having something steady in your life, and you switch to corporate, like there's really no hate to that. There's really no something that you should frown upon, because at the end of the day, everybody's trying to survive, everybody's trying to live their life. And I'm tired of this whole narrative that like it's going to happen for you, like you're on your own timeline. Like, it's okay to feel that way, and like I truly believe that everyone is on their own timeline, but it's okay to also be frustrated when things don't work out for you in the way you wanted to. And obviously we can have that whole conversation of like, don't have expectations, but we're human. It's okay to feel frustrated and put your all into something and have not something come your way, and like it like logically makes sense. Like, oh, I put in all the work to do something, XYZ happens. That's the whole formula. You put in the work for something, oh, that should lead to whatever it is you're aspiring for. That's the basic formula that everybody knows and everybody believes in. But when it doesn't happen, especially if you've been doing it for quite some time, like whether it's 5 years, whether it's 10 years, whether it's 20 years, it's like it gets to a point where you have to ask the hard hitting question: when is it time to give up? When is it time to redirect into something new? Because I say this example of like my friend of a friend, and I think of that because a friend of mine that's also a dancer, they're like, oh shit, dude, like I don't know, like I have these, struggles that like maybe I do want something more steady in my life. And I can't imagine putting my heart, soul, and blood, sweat, and tears into this one goal of mine, this one job that's only annual, that's like not really something that is steady, yet you work your entire life for it and then you get passed over and you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. Hopefully that one day they do say yes. That one day it happens for you. And I think it's okay to question that a little bit. I'm not saying completely give up because that is not the moral of what I'm trying to say either. I hope none of y'all think that I'm trying to say, like, oh, give up on everything. No. When I ask the question, when is it time to give up? That means redirect into something new, a new chapter of your life. Whether you want to try something new, whether you think of something that you've been wanting to try for a long time and you've never considered it. And now that you're ready to consider it, you're like, you know what? I am going to leave this for a while. Put it on a shelf, close it for a temporary time, and feel like you're called to take it on again whenever you feel it's time. And I think of this because, like I said, I don't feel like anybody is talking about this enough. I'm not saying that it can never happen for somebody. Some people blow up overnight. Some people get the dream career, the dream job, the dream anything overnight. Like it really does exist out there. But for 90% of people, that doesn't exist. So I'm going to say the one thing that nobody wants to say. When do you think it's time to give up on something you want? Now, when I say the question, once again, when is it time to give up on something you want? You're probably thinking the answer automatically by default is never. You should know that if you want something enough, you're going to do everything you can for it. It's like, actually, let's rephrase that, because I'm not saying by any means that you should stop trying all entirely. But there is something to consider when it comes to things that you want. And it's human to be frustrated and finding that logical math equation, I guess you can say. I do the work plus keeping my best foot forward plus being positive equals my end result. That should be the common formula that we all believe in. We're told our entire lives, if you work hard enough, you'll get there. And it's like, that's not necessarily untrue, because it is true. That does happen for people. That's the only way to get anywhere in life. But it's also okay and very human and very, I guess, in our nature to be frustrated when things don't go the way that we want them to. And it's like everybody loves this preach ideology of like, don't have expectations then. It's like, okay, well, I really am trying to remain neutral in a lot of things, but that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to be upset. That doesn't mean, that's so invalidating to oneself. Like, it's okay to be upset when things don't go your way. It's okay to be frustrated when you've done X, Y, and Z amount of work and then nothing comes from it, you know? And that's where you kind of have to train yourself to be like, well, I got the satisfaction from it. Shouldn't that matter at the end of the day? Absolutely. But it's okay to be frustrated with yourself. It's okay to be a little upset. It's okay to just have those human emotions, you know? I don't think it's necessarily something that we should practice all the time, but it is something that we have to consider. And that leads me to my next thing, where it's like, I'm going to say the thing that nobody wants to say out loud. Okay. I've changed my mind and opinion of a lot of things recently. And like I say, we love to preach the ideology that making art to be made for the sole purpose of creation, just for the sake of creation, right? But we are human. We are human at the end of the day. We crave validation, even though we know we shouldn't. And it feels like human nature at this point. But at what point do we ask ourselves, is anything worth it if we can't share it with the world and like world to see and consume and be shown? Because I am a firm believer that it's okay to want your work to be out there. I'm not saying you should only make art and only create things for the sole purpose of validation, because that's not what it is about at the end of the day. I think that it's okay and very human to make beautiful things for the sake of yourself, to make beautiful things and put it into the world. But it's also okay to feel those emotions, being like, I do want somebody to care about this because I do want it to touch somebody's life. I do want somebody to really feel this that I'm making. I really want somebody to look at this and be like, I've been feeling this way my entire life, and somebody made it into real life form for me to consume. And that moves me. There are some moments, like, I feel like good art will always be something that touches the soul. And that can mean a lot of things. Like, that can be any type of art in the world. That can be anything in the world. That can be music, that can be dance, that can be acting, that can be film, that can be anything in this world. And I really wholeheartedly believe to deny ourselves and be like, I don't care. I don't care about validation. I don't care about any of this. I just care about making my shit and going about my life. It's like, okay, pause. Unpack that, okay? I'm not saying it's a bad thing to not want validation, because at the end of the day, that's what we should all strive for, to not seek validation from anyone but ourselves. But to lie to yourself and pretend it doesn't bother you when nobody cares, that's when it's time to also be like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. But you do, though. Deep down, you do. And I don't say that to be rude. I don't say that to be shunning. I don't say that to be like, oh, look, who cares? Not a bad thing to care. I think that, quite honestly, it's very human to want to make beautiful things and make them for the sake of yourself and for the sake of being in your body and making beautiful things for only yourself and the way you feel and move through life. But to also lie to oneself, being like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if anybody sees this. I don't care if anybody cares about this. Don't lie. Don't lie to yourself like that. It's okay to want to be seen. It's okay. And I know we all have a big fear of being perceived. For the most people I know in my life, we are terrified of being perceived. It's like we have that, two wolves inside me. Like, I want to be seen for the work I do and be validated and be congratulated and be celebrated. And hopefully this touches somebody's life, versus the other side of the wolf inside me that's like, I don't care. I want to make this for me. So at the end of the day, it is very human, very normal to want, not necessarily always, the validation, because the purpose I'm trying to get up, like the point I'm trying to get across, is making art and putting it into the world solely for yourself. The answer should be yes, every time. But to say that, oh, if I never get paid for this a day in my life, it doesn't matter, don't lie either. It's okay to care about things, and it's okay to make beautiful work, and it's okay to put it into the universe for consumption and judgment even. But to also be like, I don't care though, but you do. No, and if anybody does shame you, like, you shouldn't care about that stuff, it's like, don't lie to yourself. Gee, wouldn't it be awesome if you made an amazing painting or you made an amazing album, and you're trying to gaslight yourself into believing, like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't want anybody to see it, this is for me, this is for me. But nobody listens, nobody buys your work, nobody buys your painting. How awesome would it be if somebody bought your painting and you meet the person, like the buyer, and they actually tell you, hey, this artwork really moved me. And I'm so thankful I found you as an artist, and I want to buy more of your work, and I want to be somebody that really loves your work, and I really want to buy more of your work, type shit. Wouldn't that be awesome? Just saying, like, you don't have to pretend like, oh, I don't care if anybody sees this, don't lie. Just don't lie to yourself, because it's very human It's very human. We all strive for connection. We all strive for a bigger purpose in our lives, or at least we all should. I don't think I've ever met anybody that didn't have that drive. It's very rare. I feel like it's also very weird. But my point is that when I say, when is it time to give up on something? Or when is it time to redirect into something new, opening a new chapter in your life, and then leaving what else that you had in your life on a shelf to temporary location, and to be like, I'll revisit this one day. I'm not sure when, I'm not sure how, but I'll revisit it one day. And then you try something new. Let's say you flourish in that more and you don't even touch whatever's up there. A lot of artists do that. A lot of creative individuals do that. But my thing is I think that we need to talk about it more. I think it's incredibly necessary to stop lying to yourself when it comes to, I only make art for the sake of art and creation, and I don't care about getting paid ever in my life, and I don't care if anybody sees it. I'm like, pause, babe. Once again, when you ask yourself, the number one answer should always be, you do this for yourself. Yes. But like I said, wouldn't it be 10 times more amazing if you made a piece of work that touched your soul and moved you, and you did this for yourself? You made work that was so incredibly vulnerable and so incredibly beautiful that you had to put it into the world because you had nowhere else to put it. And then somebody comes along, they tell you, they DM you, they reach out to you some way, they email you, or they buy your work or whatever, or they contract you for something and they book you, or whatever the case is, for whatever field of industry it is. Wouldn't it be 10 times more amazing if somebody had reached out to you to tell you, hey, this work really moved me. Everything you do touches me. Everything you do has inspired me to do whatever it is I've been holding back on. Hello. That is the whole purpose of what it means to be creative, what it means to be an artist, what it means to be somebody that's passionate. If, like, for me, like, if I don't move somebody, I think that breaks my heart. Like, I want somebody to feel the work that I do touch them in a way that's like, that's very me, or I feel very seen, I feel understood, I feel seen I feel something, whether, even if it's a negative emotion. That's the point. Don't try to pretend like, I don't care if I'm seen, I don't care if I get paid. Girl, don't lie to yourself. And it's very human to want that for yourself. To deny that part of yourself, not ideal. But to also only do it for the sake of money, yeah, girl, that's not it either. We can also call that out. I've called that out many times. But it's okay to want recognition. It's okay to want respect. It's okay to be paid for the work you do. It's okay. Like, you work hard. If you work hard, I would hope somebody pays you. But that's what I have to say on the matter. I will say this. We must acknowledge that obviously social media makes you believe that you're just not put together, that you're not as cool as you think you are, as you're not as successful as you should be. But we have to acknowledge that it's not always normal, in the sense of just common, to have a bunch of art just ready to go. Now, there's also that conversation as well, that you need to make shitty art, you need to make shitty things for you to get better, which I also believe. But I don't think it's natural to keep pushing stuff out, because I don't think, even as a creative, I've been creative my entire life. I have billions of ideas in my head. Billions. And they're great ideas that I know nobody can take from me. But I say that because I don't think it's natural to keep pushing stuff out. That's my own opinion. That's my own take. I'd much rather an artist take their time with the work that they do than just keep dropping songs, or keep dropping music, keep dropping art, keep dropping anything, just because they want to stay in the eye of the world, the public eye, I guess, or a sense of relevancy. Because honestly, dude, I've seen people that push out stuff all the time. All the time. And personally, it's not my favorite. for the most part. Like Tame Impala, I think he hadn't released like an album in like 2 years, and then he dropped it today, October 17th. Incredible album, by the way. It's called Deadbeat. Like literally not sponsored, but it was an incredible album. Same with Cardi B. Like I think Cardi B is an amazing example of not like being in the public eye, but not necessarily for music. Like her first album was like when I was in community college, fool. Like that was like, I don't know exactly the year, but I remember it as being 2017, 2018. And she just released her second album this year. 7 years with no album. Yes, she has managed to be relevant. She has managed to be in the public eye because of who she is as an individual. People resonate with her. People really love the work that she does. People love how she's honest. Like I think she came out recently and was like, I didn't know that the rent in New York was this bad. I didn't know the rent in New York, especially in the Bronx, was this high. I'm sorry for telling you guys to buy my album. As a matter of fact, don't buy my album. Like just focus on the rent, girl. That is being real. That is being in tune with life. Like that is being like, oh shit, like people have real life issues and real life problems and real life struggles. Like just because I made it doesn't mean I don't care about the people that are still in whatever place they're at, you know? And like I said, Cardi B's a great example of what I'm trying to say. Like I think like the few interview clips that I've seen of her on IG, like from various podcasts, various interviews where she was like, I didn't want to put something out that I wasn't happy with. Like everybody was like, oh, like no album 7 years, no album 7 years. But it's like, well, I've been number one on the billboards. I dropped singles during this time and I'm still good. I have hella awards. Like people are asking for it. Like people are happy to support me when I put out stuff. And I did see a thread on Instagram. If I can find it, I'll reshare it on my IG. But basically it was like, is your work that like that forgettable that you think that you need to constantly push stuff out? Because we also know Lauryn Hill, to my knowledge, she only released one album. And people are saying we don't need another album actually. She can never make music again and I'm fine with it. That is what I mean to be impactful as an artist of any kind. To make work that's so valuable, so touching, so vulnerable, so real, so whatever the process was to make said art and music or creation of any kind. And that the sole purpose of you dropping it into the world, you don't need to make another album ever again. Like people can honestly be like, I don't need to hear her music ever again to know that she's an amazing artist. She could take 20 years to release something and I'd be happy. That's how I feel with also Adele. I feel like Adele has her moments too. Like she only releases albums by her age. Like there, I think, I don't know the time gap, but every few years she drops an album, every few years she disappears, you know? Like, but still, I'm as a fan, I love Adele. I think that she's one of the greatest vocalists ever, dude. Like, she's incredibly talented. Like, she could never drop music again, and I'd be like, oh God, I would kill for another Adele album when I'm like 80, you know? Like, she has the talent, the vocals for me to be like, you know what? If she never made anything again, I'd be listening to the rest, like all of her music, the rest of my life, and I'd be very happy. Like, that's what I mean to be a good artist. That's what I mean to be somebody that's creative and doesn't necessarily have to push stuff out all the time to become like to stay relevant, to memorable or maintain relevancy. Like if I'm gonna be really honest, I saw a like video with or an interview with Charlie XCX, because if you guys don't know Charlie XCX, listen, I wasn't on the Charlie XCX train, but Brat came out and that changed the game. Every person that had not really paid too much attention to Charlie XCX, they were paying attention now, you know? And quite honestly, I'm like, you got a fan in me, girl. Like, this is a good album. Like, Brat was a phenomenal album. It was monumental. It was a cultural shift. And if you weren't there, girl, I was here. I didn't even listen to the full Brat album until like maybe August of 2024, maybe way later than that, because I kept hearing the music all over social media. I felt like I already listened to the whole album. So I was like, dude, this is an album. Like, this is really good. Like, whatever she was doing in that studio, let's remake it, girl, because you're doing an amazing job and I'm a big fan. But did I know Charlie XCX prior to that? I knew of her music. I just never really thought of her too much, right? And that's not any shade to her, by the way. I think she's an incredible artist. And now that I look back and I think about it, I'm like, dude, she really has some bangers up there that I heard when I was in high school, you know? But my point as to like, it's not really normal nor natural to keep pushing stuff out just for the sake of doing it, because you're just doing it to do it at that point. You're not really thinking about the artistic integrity and the artistic world that you're trying to set, which brings me to my point. When Charlie XCX did a Subway Takes interview, how she was like, very few artists make a world for their music. A lot of them don't have artistry. They just make music. And I'm like, interesting. Let me hear more. Then she talks about how when I'm listening to an artist or I'm listening to a new album, it has to be a world that the artist creates, which is exactly what Charlie XCX did for Brat. It was like when I watched the interview with her that she was talking about like why she made the album Brat Green, now like coined Brat Green, but it was just like a neon green like cover art, and it said just Brat on it, because she was like, look, I don't want to like sell a bunch of copies, like it's very costly to make a huge album cover like with a bunch of photography and like stuff like that. I just really wanted to keep it cheaper, on the cheaper side, but it was just very self-explanatory. I didn't really think about it, and I really liked it. And everybody critiqued that I was going to make that my album cover, but it did very well, regardless. And I'm like, that's really real. And then with Charlie XCX, like when I saw the videos of her on tour for Brat, she made it a whole world. Like she just like, I can't really describe it. Like you just really had to be there for it. Like I was like, this is what she means when like you make a world of music. You make it an era. You make it something that's not just music, but a whole world, artistry. Like people that listen to your music will walk in to your world of music. And I think a great example that I can also think of aside from Charlie XCX that like makes a whole world of their music would have to be, quite honestly, I'm trying to think right now because I don't know off the top of my dome. But I really, really want to say, aside from Charlie XCX, another artist that makes like a world of their music. Oh, that's really hard. Like, that's a no brainer. That's like on the dome right now. I'd have to pull up my Spotify for that. But I think that that's really the conversation to be had. That's really the conversation to be had. That a lot of musicians don't really have artistry. And I was like, no, she's cooking in here, guys. Let her speak. Let her speak, because it's very real and it's very, very honest. I'm trying to think like, I want to say, like, now that I'm like thinking of this question now, I'm trying to think of like my on repeat right now of artists that make artistry and worlds of their music instead of just music. I'm stumped, guys. I want to say, like, I feel like I have somebody in my head, but I'm not sure if I should. I mean, I say Miley Cyrus. That's like the person I can think of right now. Because you can hate on my girl Miley Cyrus. I don't give a fuck, quite honestly. I am a Miley Cyrus stan forever and always. Like that's my girl, dude. Like I don't play about Miss Miley. I don't. And whether you hate her, you love her, I'm honestly a firm believer that Miss Miley Cyrus has so much range. It blows my mind. Because we had Hannah Montana, right? Everybody remembers her. That was a world in itself, like a tween that was like a pop star by night, a regular girl by day. You know, that's a world that you have to create as an artist. But she was at the fine age of like 12 years old, by the way. Then we have her Meet Miley Cyrus era, which was after Hannah Montana ended. And she made music that was like more Miley Cyrus, not Hannah Montana, because Hannah Montana was more pop, like pop star, like very famous it girl pop star, like she was on Hannah Montana, the show. So Meet Miley Cyrus was like more of like her world, like her own personal world of like her friends she had at the time. And obviously, I have listened to every single interview of her talking about Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus when she broke out into her eras and artistry, which is also a world because it's her, like first we had Hannah Montana, which is like her own world that she created as an artist, like as a persona. I would rather say persona than artist. And then we had Meet the Artist, which was Miley Cyrus, the artist behind Hannah Montana, that gave Hannah Montana life, that made Hannah Montana who she is and was. Then we have her era where she broke out of Disney and then she released Can't Be Tamed. What's the other song? Who Owns My Heart? Like those were like when she was in her 19, 20 years old era, which was a whole new world because she was branching out, trying something new. And I did look into this because I was curious myself. How did the Can't Be Tamed, Who Owns My Heart era just not do well? Because I hear more people talking about Bangers, her album after Can't Be Tamed, more than I hear about her album pre Bangers. Because like Can't Be Tamed, Who Owns My Heart was like immediately like right before she dropped Bangers. And I like looked it up and it was just like her starting out. Like it was her starting out in the public eye more as like Miley Cyrus, like an adult version of Miley Cyrus. Like she was super young and people were dragging her through the mud. She I think was like very early on smoking weed and like all the moms of the world were like, I can't believe this is who Miley Cyrus is. I'm like, bro, she's like 16, 17. Hello. Or I think she was a little older, but nonetheless, we had Can't Be Tamed, Who Owns My Heart. It wasn't as popular, but I've been listening to Can't Be Tamed recently, and I'm like, this fucking slaps. This shit goes hard. And I also saw, of course, me being the fan that I am, I saw that she also semi-recently talked about Can't Be Tamed many years later, and she was like, I still relate to those lyrics. Like, that's something that I look fondly back on. And then we have her Bangers era, which was like blew up overnight. I went to that Bangers tour, and when I found out that it was self-funded, she paid for that entire tour herself, down to everything. She paid for it, all of it by herself, because nobody believed in her vision. She was like, "Well, then fuck it. I'm gonna buy it myself. I'm gonna make this album, and I'm gonna promote it. And I'm gonna go on tour, and I'm gonna pay for all of it myself." And I don't regret it. Like people like I think she also came forward and said that like a lot of people regretted not investing into it because it did really well. And I love that tour. It was her hanging on the hot dog. I know you guys, if you saw it during that era, okay, she was on the hot dog. I saw it with my own two eyes in person at the Staples Center. Still Staples Center, not Crypto Arena. Thank you so much. But I was like, yeah. Bangers is still a banger album to me. I love it. Many years later, it still hits hard. And for me, I think it's a great symbolism for womanhood. When you transition from like, the little younger you from when you're like 19, 20 to like when you're 21, 22, 23, 24, you know? Like that really awkward stage of like not your early 20s but like the older 20s, like you're getting into your 21, 22, 23, 24 era. Then we have 25 and over, which is a different album for me. But I know she released like her hippie type of album. That wasn't like, I haven't listened to it. I'm gonna be real. I know I'm a fake Miley Cyrus fan. Then she had Miley Cyrus and her dead pets when she lost her pets in a fire and her home in a fire. And she also acted during that time in Black Mirror as a pop star, which I found fascinating. Of course, I watched because it's Miley Cyrus. Duh. Like, of course, if it has Miley Cyrus, I'm there. Okay, thank you. But I really, really love everything she's ever done. And I think that she does a great job of having range, but also making a world of the art. And I will also say, dare I say, Plastic Hearts was personally one of my favorite albums of her of all time. And I know, it has also come forward that she basically talked about it in recent, like I think this year, she was like, I didn't really like making Plastic Hearts that much, and it like just stabbed me in the fucking chest. I was like, you mean to tell me one of my favorite albums by one of my favorite musicians of all time doesn't even like it? Oh, that broke my heart. But an artist is an artist. I can't disagree. but I have to disagree on the inside. And I think another artist that comes to mind with making worlds of their work is Beyonce. I'm not a big Beyonce girl, but trust, she will put down a world of music. Like she'll put artistry down. I know that for a fact. Like she will put that down. Like Cowboy Carter was all yeehaw themed. I'm not a yeehaw girl, but trust. When I listen to 16 Carriages, yeah, I'm locked into that. Or Renaissance. I really loved that world too. I think that her recent albums like Cowboy Carter and Renaissance were really, really good. Like Alien Superstar? Are you joking? That was a song. That was a bop. But I know she does a great job musically and artistically and making a world of her music because I'm not a crazy Beyonce fan, but I know about it every year because everybody talks about it because she's making a world of her music. She's making a universe. She's making something that isn't just music just to make music. Like she has obviously put in the work. That's why she is Beyonce for a reason. I have to give credit where credit is due. Okay. I may not be the biggest Beyonce fan, but I know for a fact that that girl can make a world of music. She'll make it a whole universe. She'll make it have its own town, its own city, etc. That's why she's Beyonce. Like, that's why. And dare I say, a lot of my people are going to get upset with me. I also have to say Ariana Grande. I'm sorry. I'm not a big Ari fan either, but that woman knows how to make a world too. Like Eternal Sunshine, her recent album, dare I say one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. I'm sorry. I love that. I love Eternal Sunshine, the album. Oh my God. Don't get me started on Eternal Sunshine. There's very, very many different artists that make worlds of their music. But art is meant to be created for the sake of saying something into the world. It shouldn't be normalized to keep pushing content out if it's just empty and it's just not well thought out. It's not content. It's just content farming or a farming, I guess you can say. No actual work behind it. It's just something to post and say, hey, I posted today, which becomes meaningless to me. But hey, these are all my own opinions because quite honestly, art is meant to be thought out. Art is meant to be, and before you say you have to make shitty stuff, you have to like just post things to post things, but like not always. I'm a big disagreeer in that aspect. Sometimes I feel like it can be a day by day basis. Maybe today you don't want to post something that's like for shits and giggles. Maybe tomorrow you're like, I'm in the mood to post this today. I feel like we can also look at that from that perspective. Oh, you need to make shitty art to be better. I'm like, yes, but on your own time. I think that it's important to make something every day. I feel like that can be anything. It can be, did you make more stuff than you consumed today? That's the common question I hear. Which also should be yes. Okay. I'm looking at myself when I say that too. Okay. I'm not innocent. I'm not the perfect person when it comes to that. But what I will say though is art is meant to be well thought out. Art is just meant to say something into the world, to say something with courage, to say something into the world that has meaning to you. But that doesn't mean you should just go making God knows what and doing it just to push stuff out, doing it so you don't remain irrelevant, that your insights don't go down, your analytics don't go down. Because I always can tell if I have to see one more day in the life of somebody ordinary, if I'm not seeing a day in the life, let's say if somebody's a lawyer, I'm super down to watch what they do. I don't know what the fuck a lawyer does. I know they defend the law. That's all I know. But there are different types of lawyers. There's marriage and family. There's general lawyer. Like there's lawsuit lawyers. Like there's a bunch of different lawyers in this world. I love to know a day in their lives. Or the same thing with a surgeon. We got a brain surgeon. We got a cardiology. We got various types of surgeons in the world. Or an anesthesiologist. I would love to know their day in the life. But if you're just some average person that works a regular job, not hating, by the way, you got to get that bread. I'm not hating. But I'm not that intrigued. I've seen already enough of people doing that. I'm not intrigued, personally. But doesn't mean that you should stop doing it. No. Because there are people that are actually into that stuff. It's about finding your niche, y'all. But with that, I conclude this episode. I hope today made sense. I feel like I sometimes made sense, but not always. I don't know. Really just depends on the vibe. But nonetheless, y'all, I'm going to go make myself some dinner, even though it's like 5 p.m. But when you got stuff to cook in the oven, shit takes like another 3,000 years to make. So I'm gonna make myself some potatoes. But nonetheless, you guys, I hope you guys enjoy today's episode. I hope it made sense. I hope that you just understood what I mean. I'm praying to somebody that they understand. But also, if it's like a more if you know type of situation. But if you made it this far, thank you. And I will see you guys in the next episode. I hope that you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. I hope you guys are just having a grand old time in your lives. But nonetheless, you guys, I'm going to see Lord tomorrow. So I'm going to be a very busy gal this weekend. And I do have to prepare my entire day and entire weekend for Lord. So with that being said, you guys, I will see you guys in the next episode. Take care of yourselves. Be healthy. Be safe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.